Welcome back to another Working with Watson. Today, specifically, we're going to start talking about electrons in an atom. Okay, so as we've learned about atoms, the protons have our positive charge, neutrons have our neutral charge, which means they have no charge, zero charge. The electrons are floating around the outside, kind of in an orbit, and they have the negative charge. Okay. So the protons, neutrons, and electrons are usually balanced. They're usually all have the same number. There are plenty of examples that they do not just match up so perfectly. Okay. So what I have here is I put on here is an atom of neon. Okay. So on the periodic table, neon has a atomic number of 10. Okay. Means it has 10 electrons floating around that outside. It has 10 protons in the middle, 10 neutrons in the middle. And those 10 protons and neutrons each form the nucleus. Okay. So speaking of the electrons again do not just orbit in a perfect circle, right? They're buzzing all around in multiple ways and just spinning around, forming more of a cloud around it than those perfect circular orbits. We draw those in the circles, just it's easier to see, find them, place them, count them, things like that, instead of having that kind of a cloud of those circling around the nucleus. Okay, so going back to neon, when we draw out our electrons, we form shells. So each of these circles or rings is a shell, is what it's called. And these shells also can determine the number of electrons that go in each one. So the first ring, so this one here, that's ring 1. Okay. Ring 2 is here. Okay. So the first ring can only hold 2 electrons. Can only hold 2 electrons. So you can see I have those here. Here's 1, here's 2. The second ring holds 8 electrons. So if you kind of see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, so the second ring holds 8. So the first ring holds 2, second ring holds up 8. Okay, and that means there are 8 spots available in the second ring. Not all atoms completely fill that ring, which we'll talk about here in a minute. So for right now, those shells, second shell forms 8 rings. So if we get to the let's move this out of the way. Let's say that we added and we move up one notch on the periodic table, which would be the one more electron. I believe it is potassium. Not sure on that off the top of my head, actually. So let's say we're going to add that next ring. So I'm going to take this and I'm actually just going to copy. Oops. So there's my next electron. I have to put it on a ring. So I'm going to take this one, I'm going to copy and paste that ring, and while I'm on that ring, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. And I think we'll go maybe one more. Now we got it big enough. And so there's my third ring. And just like the second ring, the third ring can form or hold up to 8 electrons. Okay, around the outer ring. Now, once we start getting into bigger rings, there are some differences in the number of rings. Sometimes they hold different amounts. That's getting beyond what we're doing here in 5th grade. So just for now, we want to know that there are those 8 spots available in the third ring. Okay, so again, ring 1 holds 2. Ring 2 holds 8. Ring 3 holds 8. And we'll just continue that pattern. So 8 from here on out. Again, once we start getting to some differences, that gets way beyond what we're doing here in 5th grade. So just know that. So again, what we're looking at here is those rings. First ring around the outside, last time, holds 2. Second ring can hold up to 8. The third ring, again, can hold up to 8. These do not always have to be filled. The atoms want them to be filled, but they're not always filled completely to the top with electrons. It all depends on the atomic number of each element that it is. Okay, so if I were to say that this was an oxygen atom, well, an oxygen atom, I would need to get rid of this. I would not have this ring, and I would actually be getting rid of 2 electrons because oxygen has an atomic number of 8. So ring 1, 1, 2. And then it's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So there are 2 other spots available here that oxygen would like to fill. They're greedy. They want to fill up their rings completely. And we're going to talk about what happens when they want to fill up those rings in the next video. So stay tuned for that. But again, no oxygen, or not oxygen, electrons fill up ring or shell 1 with 2 electrons. Shell 2 can be filled up to 8. They want to fill those. And then if you would go to need a shell 3, again, 8 electrons from there. Peace for now.